Hi, welcome to this news episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adim Mahmood, with my normal co-host, Hunter. And today we're going to be talking the last few days of the Olympics, the preseason, some Brandon Aiyuk rumors, and then some stuff about the MLB Trade Deadline. The Olympics, obviously, are near its end. The U.S. has have the most medals. I think they have the most gold medals. And especially they've dominated, especially in basketball and soccer. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I'll get your thoughts on it, but there were definitely some memeable moments. When they announced breakdancing, I was thinking this could go really bad. This could go really good. And for the most part, it was good.
Yes.
But the men brought the energy, and the women, especially if you're Australian, look, I'm not a great swimmer. I don't want to go do a swimming activity for the Olympics. I'm not going to be racing in the water. I don't know what she put on her resume. I cannot believe for a second that girl was the best Australia could have offered for the Olympics. And then also, I'm going to try to keep this from PG. The French pole vaulter.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what happened. You don't even need to say it, to be honest.
The French pole vaulter may have, even though he may have not medaled, he may have won.
He won in a distinct way, for sure. He has a bunch of people probably going in his DMs right now. That's how he won, I think. But that video was very funny. A lot of memeable moments for sure. Watching Steph Curry do what he did on Saturday was a treat. And it's like, Adit, wow, this must have been like how Warriors fans have felt for the last decade plus, seeing Steph Curry do this. And just seeing him basically do the night-night right after in the final minute. I mean, it's crazy that this was his first gold medal too. I mean, did not play 2021, 2016, 2012. He comes here for this one because that's really the last thing he needed for his career. I mean, he already has the NBA finals. He has every other award, hasn't won this. Now he's won this. He's basically won it all for his career now. Top 10 player of all time, but seeing him heat up down the stretch, I mean, all we needed was just Breen on the call. I mean, Noah Eagle was tremendous for NBC, but all we needed was Breen.
Like father, like son.
Doing yeah. Well, all we needed was Breen doing a bang, but Eagle was great for NBC. And it was, for Team USA, it wasn't the easiest way to win, but they got the job done. They went undefeated. They won every single game. And heck, it was looking bad for that semifinal game against Serbia, down 13 going into the fourth quarter. But LeBron and Steph just woke up. KD woke up. You got to keep them on the floor at all times. And we may not see those three play for Team USA ever again. I mean, probably not for LeBron. He's going to be in his mid-40s. Curry's going to be a bit older. KD will be about 39 for 2028. So maybe a shot for KD, but if I had to guess, I think all three are done for Team USA. I'll be curious to see how they do in 2028 without those big three there. I think they're going to be a lot more vulnerable in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, but still congratulations to them. The women's game today against France was awesome. Seeing Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Diana Taurasi, they were all great for Team USA. And did you know they haven't lost an Olympic basketball game, the women's team, since the early 90s?
Oh, wow.
I believe it's 1992 was the last time they lost an Olympic game. That's how dominant the women's team has been. But they got a massive test from France. That was the gold medal that got them the tiebreaker over China. So, yeah, they tied with China for gold medals, but the U.S. gets the tiebreaker because they have more medals overall. That was great. Women's soccer, Mallory Swanson gets the game-winning goal on Saturday. And you know what? Coaching matters, people. Emma Hayes hasn't been on the job that long. She has them playing brilliant soccer. They got hot at the right time. That's why you go out there and pay top dollar for a good coach overseas. The U.S. men's national team now needs to do that from the U.S. Soccer Federation. So I really hope they do that. But all in all, a really fun Olympics to watch. The diving and the swimming was great. The track was great, especially with Sha'Carri Richardson. It stunk that Lyles wasn't able to win that other race. He came down with COVID, but everything was still a ton of fun to watch. I thought Paris did a really great job. The closing ceremonies, are going on right now, but I had a lot of fun watching these, man. And I'm excited for 2028 when they come back to the United States.
Yeah, I think this was one of the bigger moments for the United States because obviously Simone Biles, she's got maybe two Olympics left in her.
She honestly could retire. I think she needs a couple more golds to tie. I forget what her name is, but she has 2 more to tie the women's gymnastics leader who has the most of all time in the world for Olympic medals. So for that alone, I could see her doing 2028 in Los Angeles, but I also could see her retiring considering how great she's already done.
And I think there's a lot of great, like Katie. I'm checking how Katie Ledecky is 27, so she's probably like she's maybe again 1 or 2. Like you have a lot of these great American athletes. Obviously, with the next Olympics being in the United States, I do think we are going to see a lot of these athletes come back. I mean, maybe LeBron is tough. That's going to be really tough with LeBron.
I mean, he's going to be in his mid 40s. He'll be close to 45 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the only reason why I think that LeBron, like 2 of LeBron, Steph, and KD,
they're probably done if I had to guess.
Yeah, no, like I think if it wasn't in the United States, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously there was controversy with Jason Tatum not getting a lot of playing time. Like
controversy from Celtics fans, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. There's definitely a nice next group of NBA players. It's gonna be. I do think you're gonna take a step back, but when you had Durant, LeBron, Steph Curry, you're going to take a step back regardless. So,
right.
So it's going to be interesting. That it's going to be that's going to be the thing there. The track and field stuff was fun. Obviously, I don't know if you saw it. There was a potential split of the gold medal for the high jump, and then the United States had to play on and ended up losing. That was the first time. I mean, beach volleyball, saw that. First time I heard of the LSU, the Louisiana Swedish guy, Mondo. That's didn't really hear about him before, but obviously he dominated again. Obviously the China, there's someone from China that won one of the diving competitions. He apparently set a record for back-to-back gold medals.
I was watching that last night. He did a really great job with the diving competition. Some of his moves were just stunning.
Yeah, and so obviously, and then women's, I think Mallory Swanson took scored the goal, obviously.
Yep.
And then I also really like the fact that Mallory Swanson scored the goal in the gold medal match, and I believe Dansby Swanson got his 1,000th career RBI in the same day. So that's a great moment for them. I mean, there's some great moments. I think that the U.S. dominance definitely continued. I think we're going to see it be continued again next year. Next Olympics. But then also, it is going to be really interesting after the next Olympics how many of the athletes are going to retire if they choose to play. But also, going back, I don't know if you remember, this might have been a year ago. There was an Australian swimmer, I think it was. She was saying, there was nothing better than being in the United States because I get sick and tired of hearing their national anthem. Well, like we mentioned, United States won the most gold medals, most medals. So we're still dominating the competition, but it was definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of funny moments. Then there's also obviously Jade Carvey, I think it was not Simone Biles. I think it was Jade Carney or Carvey. I think she's an up and comer. But yeah, so I think there's gonna be some people like her. So I think the next Olympics are gonna be fun in that sense of who's gonna be the next Biles, who's gonna be the next Ledecky, who's gonna be the next who are gonna be some of these players that are going to take the spot of these younger moment athletes, and obviously we don't know Djokovic is going to come back for the next one. He finally got his gold.
He's won everything now. He doesn't. He's won it all. I mean, he's the greatest men's tennis player.
And then Alcaraz is definitely now the favorite.
I think he can win the next one for sure.
Yeah. And obviously, flag football. Flag football is coming in.
Do you think we get the NFL players to play that?
Sometimes I think some of them. I think people like Lamar. I don't think Lamar would do it. I think Mahomes would do it. I think
Burrow would do it for sure.
Yeah, I think that not all of the main guys will do it. You know what? I would be surprised if Josh Allen doesn't do it. Yeah. But I know Jalen Hurts probably will do it.
What playmakers, like receivers or running backs, do you think would do it?
McCaffrey.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, McCaffrey's one.
I could see, honestly, Tyreek Hill doing it from the Dolphins. I could totally see he would be someone I think that would do that.
Probably some number 2, number 3 receiver that we aren't talking. Maybe DJ Moore could be interesting. He could I could see someone like DJ Moore could be potentially participating in it, but it's gonna be a lot. I think you're gonna see those guys, and then we'll see if MLB baseball returns back to the Olympics. Would you rather see a tournament when it comes to baseball, or a home run derby type of thing?
I'd rather see a tournament, to be honest. I think
a WBC thing?
I think that should come into play for 2028. I mean, yeah, we did it. We just had the World Baseball Classic recently. I know that. I want them to do something like that at these Olympics in 2028. I think that would be a ton of fun. Best on best. It would you can take an Olympic break during the season. It's fine. The NBA, I know that they're not playing around this time, but you can do it for baseball. You just maybe don't have to have an all-star break.
Move spring training back to January.
Or also you don't have to have an all-star break. This in theory can be your all-star break. Yeah. That's what the NHL is doing when they go to the Olympics in 2026. They're not having an all-star break that year. That break in February for 2026, that is the Olympic break. So that's basically their all-star break. They're all off.
Oh yeah, it definitely would make the trade deadline very interesting. But yeah. So let's move on to let's just briefly talk about the MLB trade deadline. It was about a week and a half ago. Scuba wasn't traded. Crochet wasn't traded. By the way, the White Sox snapped their 21-game losing streak. To put it in perspective, this is how bad this losing streak was. First of all, I feel bad for the Sheets family because Larry Sheets was with the Orioles in 1988 when they started 0-21, and then his son Gavin Sheets is a starter for the White Sox this year.
Runs in the family.
But it is funny because the losing streak with the White Sox, Deadpool 3 came out 2 weeks after. The White Sox won their last game before the losing streak, and made $900 million before the White Sox won a game.
Jesus Christ! That's just unbelievable. I feel like I was never going to see something like that during my lifetime, and then lo and behold, that awful White Sox team just comes around. But I'm glad they were able to get that.
They fired the manager
up their backs just because, that sucks, man. It sucks. They needed to win. I'm glad they got that monkey off their back, man. That's just losing 21 in a row like that. That's just got to be the feeling in the locker room during that losing streak is awful.
And this is how close it was to being a disaster. If they kept losing and they lost on Friday, it would have been against the Chicago Cubs at, I think, their home. It would have been a home game for the White Sox, and it would have been fireworks night.
Jeez.
At that point, do you cancel fireworks? If you find out that they're losing 23 straight, do you just go to fans and say, yeah, I know we promised fireworks night, but the context, we've lost 23 straight. We don't feel like it's appropriate.
Hell, I'll still do it. That's at least the ticket worthy of admission. At least you're staying for the fireworks, and the tickets are probably dirt cheap anyway during that. Yeah,
well, I mean, that is the big thing there. But obviously, Garrett Crochet didn't. Eloy Jimenez went to the in a salary dump to the Orioles, and apparently the White Sox post-game crew was saying, thank goodness the Orioles did that. Eloy Jimenez is batting over 400 with Baltimore. He's not hitting for a ton of home runs. He's hitting the ball on the ground, but he's hitting the ball hard. He's finding the holes. Maybe the Orioles should send a thank you message to the White Sox, because Eloy has, as long as he doesn't play in the field, Eloy Jimenez is a good hitter. And he is definitely a good bat off the bench, especially against lefties. But it is obviously the Padres went crazy with the moves they made. The Rays traded off a whole bunch of their pieces. I don't know how to feel about the Padres, because Tanner Scott is fine, but he still walks a ton, and they gave up like 5 or 6 top 30 prospects for him. If this doesn't work out, and obviously they made the trade with the Rays and they gave up a couple more prospects. I mean, I don't know how this is going to feel about with the Padres. The Orioles obviously went out, got trade for 7 players. Trevor Rogers is just a lefty guy, starter. Get him corrected. And he's a guy that can be a good 4 or 5 in your rotation. Zach Eflin, every team is looking for that Jordan Montgomery signing, a trade last year where the under-the-radar guy that helps the team win, Nathan Eovaldi. Zach Eflin could be that guy for him. Like I mentioned, Eloy Jimenez, Austin Slater is a good bench bat. Sir Anthony Dominguez, I think, is going to be the closer for them for the remainder of the year and throughout the postseason, which, by the way, good postseason numbers for him. Gregory Soto, erratic, but if you don't have an established closer, I think you would agree with this. You want guys with great stuff in the postseason. That helps you. You can try to harness the control as much as you can, but if they have great stuff like Gregory Soto has, I'm good with that. And remember, he was an all-star closer a few years ago with the Tigers. So he's got that in him. So the Orioles, and then obviously they called up Jackson Holliday, who, by the way, got his has hit 5 home runs. He's definitely shown that research really helped. They called up Kobe Mayo. He's still 0 for 12, 0 for 13. That's fine. He might get sent back down, but it's nice that they called him up. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously you had the James McCann thing with where he got hit in the nose with a 95-mile-per-hour pitch. Blood was dripping, and it was like a double header. So you would think he's out of the game. They changed his jersey. They put his nose. He looked like Popeye. His left eye was barely there, and caught the remainder of the game. Got a double, and he got a nasal reduction surgery. I think a fancy plastic surgery term for the nose. So you want to talk about a warrior? Just look at James McCann that. I think I sent you that video. He went through the entire game. He caught the remainder of that game after that. That was intense. Unfortunately, Jordan Westberg is out for a while, a broken hand. Right hand, he should be fine. Grayson Rodriguez had a lat strain, but he might be back by the end of September. So the Orioles are hurt, but they definitely have depth. I do like what they're doing. We'll see if J.D. Davis comes up. I know he struggled a little bit, but what are your thoughts? Did you have any quick thoughts on the MLB trade deadline?
Not too many. I mean, I think the teams that made the most moves made all the sense in the world to me. Just, from a Nationals perspective, I understand why they held on to Kyle Finnegan, even though, if you could have gotten a king's ransom, I would have, but I think they just set that price so high that no team wanted to hit it. Even though a lot of the relievers were going for so much, I think the Nats just set a very high price on Finnegan, and they're like, okay, if you want him, here's our price. But I think no team wanted to touch it just because I think it was going to be higher than even some of the other relief pitcher trades that you saw. But, you send Floro to Arizona, you send Lane Thomas to Cleveland, and I really like how the Nationals got three of their better prospects. I think, with Tanea, he got his first, walk-off with the Nats yesterday, actually against the Angels, and he looked pretty solid overall. You had Clemmy, who he has a really good arm, just his command is a little bit rough at times, and Ramirez, We'll have to see if he gets up to the majors full time at some point. But then, you send Jesse Winker to the Mets, totally understandable. So they made the moves that I expected them to make. But with Finnegan, I think it still made sense to move him. But also, you have to consider, one, they didn't get the return that they wanted. And also, two, if you did move Finnegan, who was going to be the closer for the rest of the season and then next year. So I understand also from their perspective, they got a bit spooked by it because I don't think they want to look for another closer, at least right now. So those are some quick thoughts on the Nats for the deadline. But I hope that this is the last deadline where they're true sellers and that they spend some more money this offseason to try and kickstart this team back into contention a little bit. I expect also Dylan Cruz to be called up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and so we'll move on to the NFL talk. Let's just start with Ravens and Steelers. Ravens basically, it's preseason games, so I didn't focus too much attention on it. Backup quarterback, they need improvement there. I get Josh Johnson is a veteran, but Devin Leary is not that great of an option. Maybe you go check in with Ryan Tannehill as a backup to back up Lamar. I don't mind that option. I wouldn't even hate Trace McSorley to be backing up Lamar. He knows the system. He's kind of has a similar play style to Lamar. They definitely need a backup. Tyler Linderbaum didn't play, so they had Ben Cleveland play center. Not a bad center. I don't think I would want him to be the starter. Not that he would be, but maybe as a backup center, I wouldn't mind him being the backup center. But I think he'd be your starting right guard. Daniel Falele is a tackle. I wouldn't even bother making him a guard. I think he's too big. I think there's definitely a size limit, like 6'8", 390. I don't think it's the best size to be a guard. Rosengarten, their second round pick, really good right tackle, really impressive. And then Andrew Voorhees. People forgot that last year they actually traded back into the 7th round to draft Voorhees, knowing that he was hurt. He looks solid. He looks like the guy that a lot of people said without that injury, he's a 2nd round pick. So you're probably looking at, and then Josh Jones is probably your backup left tackle. So you're probably looking at Stanley, Voorhees, Linderbaum, Cleveland, and Rosengarten, which isn't a bad O-line. Remember, you still have McCary who can kind of go all over the place. And so I think that's the other big takeaway. The third one, Nate Wiggins was hurt. Apparently he's fine. It's a shoulder sprain, but he should be good to go. Other than that, and then Owen Wright, if they are doing a third running back, he seems to be the guy, second-year undrafted guy. He seems to be the guy that could be that third running back if they choose to keep him or Rashid Ali, the guy from Marshall. So those were really the main takeaways that I got from the game. What were your takeaways?
So for the Steelers, Justin Fields made his debut. Some good, some bad. The discourse on it is just very annoying to read. I think there's a lot of very biased perspectives just because of how Fields played during his time in Chicago. He made some really nice throws. He botched a snap. The other snap was kind of the center's fault. It's only a couple of drives. So we just really don't have that big of a sample size. And I just don't want to overanalyze preseason. I did that probably a little too much last year when Kenny Pickett was lighting it up, and then he stunk during the regular season. So it's just a lot of the stuff about Fields was kind of annoying, but he did have a couple of really nice throws to George Pickens. They're starting to really form a really nice chemistry. I thought Jalen Moore and Najee Harris looked the part. A lot of the defensive starters really didn't start, but I like what I saw out of Peyton Wilson out of NC State. He's looking really strong so far in camp, the first preseason game. I think he's definitely going to get quite a bit of reps during the season. Troy Fautanu, he has an MCL sprain. He's out a couple of weeks. He's the new rookie tackle. Again, nothing too serious, thankfully, but he was beaten a couple of times against Houston, but still, he's a rookie. I think he'll be fine during the season. But otherwise, there really wasn't too much to go off of. I thought Van Jefferson had a pretty decent game, but when I look at this offense still, and I will say Arthur Smith called a really good game. I think that's the most NFL offense I've seen the Steelers run in probably 5 years. Like I saw play action. I saw stuff over the middle. I saw good run concepts. I actually saw a semblance of an NFL offense for the first time in a while. Like Arthur Smith, I thought called a pretty good game. Some of the players just left some plays out on the field. But when I look at this receiver group, this ties into Brandon Aiyuk. They really do need another difference maker at that position because I get scared thinking about what happens to this unit if George Pickens ever goes down with an injury. We all know how talented he is. He's a freak when he's on the field. But if he goes down, you got Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson, right now, Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller. There's not too much there. So that's why it is important for them to either A, land Brandon Aiyuk here, or if you don't land him and he signs back in San Francisco, you figure out something on, via trade on a different team that maybe there's a surplus of wide receivers on a different team, maybe like the Texans, for example, or something like that. But they still badly need another player at that position. And I guess indeed we can just go into this now. This whole Brandon Aiyuk saga is very strange. Weird is probably another word for it. It looked like it was very close to happening during the middle parts of the week. There's a lot of Steelers connected people saying that this was very close to a done deal. And then it didn't happen. San Francisco kind of circled back a little bit, but then you did see Brandon Aiyuk say on Instagram, hey, stop dropping reports to the media. There's two options, either sign me or trade me to Pittsburgh. You all know them. Again, stop dropping reports to the media. He seems like he's upset. Kyle Shanahan kind of threw cold water on the report that dropped, saying that he's continued to have conversations with Brandon throughout training camp and preseason. So this is a very weird situation. He vetoed trades to the Patriots, even though the Patriots had a good offer. He did not want to go there. And honestly, I understand why. The Patriots are rebuilding. Cleveland, I listened to on a podcast. Apparently he has some beef with a couple of Cleveland Browns players. I don't know which ones they are, but apparently he had some beef with a couple of them. And then you did see Amari Cooper saying on Instagram, I wouldn't mind at all, because he got leaked out that he would have been in the trade that went back to San Francisco. So he's not happy a little bit with that. But at this point, it's down to two options. He's either traded to Pittsburgh or he signs an extension with San Francisco. I'm kind of 50-50 on it right now. I was way more confident earlier in the week, but right now with how San Francisco is reportedly re-engaged again, if you ask me like fully right now which side I had to lean towards, I would lean towards Aiyuk staying in San Francisco, very close, but I can easily still see a trade working out. But there was also the report that the asking price for the 49ers was a second and third. Omar, that's the easiest trade to do. I know Omar Khan loves fleecing general managers, but it's a second and a third for a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. You do that every time. I know they're maybe also a bit spooked that they could lose their fourth, because if Justin Fields plays over 50% of the snaps this year, they have to forfeit the fourth round pick. So if you trade the second and the third, you'll only have one pick in the first and then no picks 2 through 4 and then a pick in the fifth. But still, man, I do it. Like, it's a top 10 receiver at a position that's of big need, I still think, right now overall. So that's kind of where we are. It's a waiting game. I kind of think of it like this. Omar Khan and John Lynch are playing poker. They're trying to see which one is going to fold. It's a stare down right now. So, Adit, what do you make of the situation, and what do you think happens with him?
I think it's a clusterfuck. I think it's a clusterfuck. But I mean, look, I think it's pay me or trade me. That's basically what he is saying. I think that the 49ers in the next few years, at least one of Debo or Brandon Aiyuk is going to be traded. And I think that they are trying to build the offense around McCaffrey and Kittle as well. And knowing that they have those two, you can be fine with trading one of Samuel or Aiyuk, especially if someone like Ricky Pearsall it continues to if he's good. And if you trust, this is a buy-in to the Kyle Shanahan offense. And we've seen the Kyle Shanahan offense work up to a point, but they typically he hasn't gotten the job done, either as coordinator or head coach. He's been close. And that's my thing. I think this is negotiating through the media. This is a classic. They're negotiating through the media. Everything. I think if the media just kept their mouth shut about the whole, like they had no idea, I think these negotiations would be cleaner. I think it is definitely ugly knowing that it was Amari Cooper, a second round and a fifth round for the thing. The Patriots, I think it was like a second round
I think it
Kendrick
was
Bourne.
also 2 picks, and it was reported Kendrick Bourne was maybe in the trade.
Yeah.
But, and the Patriots were also offering $32 million per year. Aiyuk said no.
Yeah, and I think that shows that Aiyuk did not want to go to the Patriots, did not want to go if those are being reported. The second and fifth, or second and third, to me indicates that the 49ers really want a receiver.
Yes.
In return. And that they don't value a Calvin Austin type as much as a Kendrick Bourne or an Amari Cooper. So the tricky thing is, if you're Omar Khan, how do you make up that difference? Because you don't have a ton of receiver depth, but you need him. But you might have to draw from that to go and get the guy, and it might actually hurt your depth, because now again you're drawing from your receiver depth, which you yourself said you weren't happy with. So unless the Steelers bring back Smith-Schuster or trade for Robert Woods from the Texans, and they kind of prepare, like maybe what they can do is maybe they can go and sign one of those guys and those types of guys to take the spot of a Calvin Austin, and then put a Calvin Austin into a trade for Brandon Aiyuk, hoping that third round pick becomes a fourth or fifth round pick. Or but you see what I'm saying, right? Like, you make one move to increase the depth of your wide receiver room, and then trade Calvin Austin, because I think that's the one guy you can trade. Van Jefferson signed. You're not moving Pickens. No. Roman Wilson was just drafted. So it really would be
but
Calvin
also comes
Austin.
down to, I don't think the Steelers want to move anyone off their roster overall,
right,
which I think is also making the 49ers a bit annoyed, because they do want a roster player, specifically a receiver in return, because they are trying to go.
If the Steelers were to go out and make a move to bring another receiver, someone like a Robert Woods, who could be a good number 3 receiver, and then use that depth to move like Calvin Austin to get Brandon Aiyuk. So then you have Pickens, Aiyuk, and let's say Robert Woods with Freiermuth. That's a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the one way. I think if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm looking at whether the Steelers are trying to make a move for another receiver to make one of their guys more expendable. I think that's the way you make that deal happen. But if you can't, I think he's going to remain with the 49ers. Now, I'm wondering.
I was going to ask for your prediction. Do you think he signs back, or do you think he gets traded?
I think he does. Because, like I said, I think because
you think he signs back?
Yeah, I think Steelers. I think Steelers don't want to give up a receiver, and I haven't heard them connected to another receiver.
Right.
If they were, maybe it could be something else there. But yeah, I think he signs back with the 49ers. But maybe Debo, a year from now, becomes someone of interest to the Steelers.
Right.
Or maybe someone else. Like, there are some interesting options there. But also, this is also ugly, because apparently Amari Cooper is like, oh, you're going to trade me?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, he does not seem happy with this.
Yeah.
So now someone on the Browns is upset, which makes me happy as a hater, at least. But yeah, definitely, just the way he reacted, he's not thrilled.
Yeah. So, and that's the messy part of these negotiations. And also, since we are talking receivers, the Ravens signed Russell Gage and Anthony Miller. Camp bodies, basically. They're just pretty much camp bodies. But they might be, you know what, I would take them as the number 3 or number 4 receiver on this team behind Aguilar, Flowers, and Bateman. I know Tylan Wallace has kind of been in the roster bubble the last couple of years. We don't know what Deontay Hardy. He's apparently been hurt, but he's a specialist. So that's more on the receiver front. And I don't think there's other NFL news. And none of the rookies did anything too much. I know. Yeah, none of the other rookies did too much. But yeah, I think we'll end the show on that note. We'll talk next week about another update on the Aiyuk situation. If there are updates,
Hopefully it ends very early this week. I think everyone in San Francisco and Pittsburgh is tired of this.
Yeah, and then we'll talk a little bit about Virginia Tech, previewing a little Virginia Tech next week as well. College football season is starting. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. See you guys next week.